Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get straight into the nitty gritty because there is a need out there, and I want to make sure that I address that need. And the need is understanding the processes when it comes to buying land in Rwanda. And I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of noticed that when I read through my old videos, like I would touch on this part over here, or I would touch on this part over here. And so what I'm going to do is create in this one video on this live stream. So come on in if you have questions. But I'm going to create in this one video just a step-by-step process for each of the different type of lands that you have. So my name is Jay Essence. I also have My Cousin Connection, www.mycousinconnection.com, where we do kind of post this. But there has been some changes also since we've done I think some changes in the last year. So we're going to update this. I'm going to give you this time now to run, go get a little pencil or pen. You are going to want to take notes. You're going to want to self reflect. You're going to want to know different things. And I'm going to try to get all of that information out there for you. So go get the notes, get the papers. I got you. I got you. So right now, I want you to understand that there's three reasons to purchase land. Those three reasons are marked on the land title, and you have to use it for those three reasons. Now, the three reasons are residential, business, or agriculture. So I'm going to actually take my notes so I can remember everything that I talk about here, so I can make sure you guys get all the information. So you have residential. Residential land simply means that you are planning to purchase this land for living on. Period. When you purchase residential land, what you're saying is, I'm buying this land, I plan to live on this land, and that's really all I want to do. Now, let's be honest, let's have a transparent conversation. A lot of people want to buy the land and then they're going to be like, I'm going to build like 7 apartments and I'm going to sell these apartments and, all these other stuff and everything. Well, technically, the moment you look at receiving money, you're playing a very thin line between residential and business. Now, I'm here to tell you, I cannot give you any advice on how you want to do things. I can tell you legally, residential land is for residential use. And so if you have any other questions, you can go and I'll talk about that to any land office. Every district has a land office where you can ask questions or not. But if you see something that's residential, that means that they have marked this off in the master plan. Let me go ahead and highlight that. They have marked that off in the master plan to use that for residential. Now, the second piece of land is for business. Now, this land can kind of have different labels, but it's always business. One of the other labels might be ecotourism, which is still business. So the business purposes is for creating business. They are looking at you to use the land in a business type format. Most popular right now is your ecotourism or putting a storefront down or whatever else like that. But if you get this land, they are looking at you to do business work on this land. The third one is agriculture. If you purchase land for agriculture use, you are to use it creating something substantial that can be bought and sold in Rwanda in the area of food sustainability, or anything else like that. It can be crops, it can be livestock, it can be any form of farming, but the purpose of this land is agricultural purposes. Okay, I'm going to get into all y'all's questions because I know the questions. Now, I mentioned something that said master plan. Rwanda has looked at every single plot of land, and every single plot of land has what's called a UPI. I'm going to park that now because you're going to get that next. But they have labeled what each piece of land should be used for. And this label goes back to their vision, I want to say 2035, because they want to have so much land available no matter what for agriculture. They only want to have so much for residential. They want to have so much for business. They're knowing that they are a small country and they have to be very strategic with what their land is. And they don't want to kind of be overrun with a whole bunch of city stuff or anything else like that. So they are very, very strategic on what they are going to do. You also need to know that if you look, I'll put that in UPI, there are sometimes pieces of land on your land that might be labeled transport or anything else, which gives the government the right to be able to utilize that land in some aspect. So, but I'll get into that UPI. So the master plan has already been planned out. So when you go to purchase land, and let's say you want to purchase residential land, but it's labeled to be agricultural, to be honest with you, I can never say anything for 100%. There's always a situation or something, whatever. But majority of the times that I have gone, and even my Rwandan friends have gone now in this past year to attempt to change the land use, it has been denied. It has been denied. They will sit there and tell you that this land was put on the master plan for this, and they will not review the master plan until the 10-year period of when it's time to review the master plan for that area or district. I do need to sit there and try to find somebody else's message to me about if you're looking in the Bogasera district, they have a special clause that makes it even more tight. It's not, oh, it's cool. Like, no, they're not looking at the master plan or any changing. So the only time, if you wanted to change, they have told us you can change when the master plan goes up for, up for consideration. But even then, there's no guarantee. So I would turn around and tell you, to be honest, whatever you purchase the land for, be prepared to use it for that cost. Please do not purchase land and say, I'm going to change it. Now, if you're talking to a real estate agent, if you're talking to probably somebody who's Rwandan, they'll be like, oh, it's agriculture, but you can change it. That's how it used to be. So they're not lying to you. They just don't know the updates with all of those things. That's how it used to be. And I know, because like I said, I have a very dear friend who is Rwandan, who bought land for residential purpose, but it was labeled agriculture. And he went down, and this happened in April. He went down in April to say, okay, I want to just know the process for changing over. And they told him, yeah, player, that's not going to change. And that land is right next door to residential spaces. Like, it's really in a community, but they're like, they're not going to change. Now, if you want to do all you want to do, people do things, okay? I'm just telling you legally what's happening. Now, the other piece of it is that you can still purchase the land for agriculture and say, I'm going to sneak and buy a house, put a house on it. Majority contractors will not touch it because they know that if they build on land, because they have to go through paperwork and get the process and you get permits. And if they build like a house structure on an agricultural plot, their license can be in jeopardy. So they are going to really work with you on what your UPI and what your land states to do and create buildings on that. And so I'll talk about agricultural building in a second. But if you're looking at like your housing and your different things like that, you're going to keep it that way. So that's the master plan. The master plan is really put in place and it's already there. So that's where we get into something called UPI. UPI is like the BIBLE of this whole land process. So once you know that you are interested in land and you know what your personal process is, I'm going to see if I can present this document real quick to kind of help us in this. So we have our three areas. We have our residential. We have our, let me see if I can do this. Yes. We have our residential. We have our, that was my business. Sorry. We have our UPI. So we're going to go to bullet 2, but I am going to back up because I said I was going to make sure I keep all of this. So this is a foreigner's checklist for property acquisition in Rwanda. The very first thing is you need to make sure that you have a valid permit or visa to live or stay in Rwanda. Now, people have purchased land off of the V12, which is the 10-year visa. People have purchased land visiting, but you need to make sure that you have the proper visa or permit, which almost is all of them, as they're going to check your passport. I believe they're going to check your passport to do anything. So the second piece is what I really want to focus in on. Find property and ownership information. If I can make this bigger, let's make this bigger. Baby, this hands down is the most important piece. Like if we said earlier, if your UPI is like your Bible, oh my gosh, every single piece of property has associated with it a UPI. That is period. That is not on anything. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. That is not some, maybe, possibly, or whatever. Hey, Beyond. That is period. If someone tells you there's no UPI, that is a lie. Do not mess with anybody. In fact, let me just go ahead and get off the shared screen because I want to talk to you one-on-one. You should not look at any property unless you have the UPI. Please do not go out and somebody's like, I want to show you this piece. It's beautiful. And you haven't run the UPI because you're going to find something and fall in love with it. Personal story, friend story, and its paperwork is not going to be clean. The UPI tells you every single thing you need to know. And you can Google it. I'm going to see if I can do that in the back end. But there's literally a text message number. Like if you just text them and give them the UPI code, you will get back immediately the information you need to know. The information you need to know on the UPI, number one, is whose name is on the property. That means who can sell it to you. Because you might get a brother, a brother-in-law, a son, or somebody else speaking on the behalf of someone. They have no right to sell. The only people who can sell are the people that are on the land document. Let me just say real quick. Hold on. What was I about to say? I think I'm in the wrong one. That's period. Not only that, there may have been where there is a husband and wife on the document and the husband has passed away. The wife has to go do the paperwork to show that the husband has passed away and his name come off the document properly, because she can't sell on his behalf because he can't sign, he dead. So you need to make sure that, number one, whoever you're talking to is the person on the document, or they have quick access and they have approved the selling, because they will not sign or they will not buy and you're wasting time. Number two, on the UPI, hold on, UPI number. I cannot remember the telephone number. Okay, I'm about to find it on this other space. Give me a second. Number two, it's going to tell you the actual legal square meters. So somebody's telling you, yeah, you get all of this. If you look at that UPI, it's the UPI is going to tell you what's there. And there's a big issue right now with people who have subdivided their land but haven't. That means that they physically told somebody, you get to have this piece, you get to have this piece, you get to have this piece. That verbal agreement means nothing. It is all about the UPI and the paperwork and the meters that is on that land. So if you have incorrect meters or anything else, you need to know that once a sale goes through, whatever's on that land is going to be cleared. Now, if you want to get into it, you can get the land surveyed. If you found something and you really like it, you want to get the land surveyed so they can properly mark off your spaces. Please do so. And surveyors, I believe, do not quote me on this one, but they're supposed to be able to be free through the land district, especially if there's a dispute. If they're not, it is like you can go to the land district office, find a surveyor, find a group, and probably pay that small amount, but to go get that land staked and everything else like that. Going back to the UPI, I'm going to type it up over here. UPI land check online Rwanda. Okay. I'm actually going to pull it up so you guys can see it. But it will tell you if people owe money on that land. If they have taken out a mortgage, if they have taken out a loan, wrong word, if they've taken out a loan, the UPI will tell you there's a lien on the land or there's money owed on the land. And if the UPI doesn't tell you, the second person who can is a land notary. They literally can look up that information and it will tell them, oh, this person owes money on this land. So you can't have a guaranteed sale until they pay off that information. There is something else, and I cannot remember. So it has the name. It has what the land is supposed to be used for. It tells you right there. It tells you right there what the land is supposed to be used for. So you can know immediately. So once again, if you're going out looking at land and you want to look at land that is residential, and you can look at the UPI and say, now player, this says agriculture. And they're going to say, no, we can change. No, whatever it's labeled, follow the label. Follow the label. And I believe residential is Gatora. I can't remember the other ones because I'm not in my space right now where I have everything, but I wanted to make sure I get this video out. So that is the breakdown of the UPI. Do not play games. Know your rights. The UPI tells you everything. The UPI tells you everything. So let's go ahead and get back into it. All right. Let's go ahead and just go back to your resident. You love Rwanda. You love living in Rwanda. You've been thinking about buying a home. Let's do that one first. Buying a home in Rwanda. You want to purchase a home. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. That is a very easy process. It's almost like the same process as buying land. To buy a home, once again, you need to find the land documents, the home documents. And I'm going to be honest, you want to call my cousin connection. Emmanuel knows this much better. I know more about land than home, but everything's in his contract and all that. If you want to buy residential land, what happens is, say you're like, I really feel like building. I really, really feel like building. And you find residential land. Let's go back up to sharing. You're going to then check the UPI. UPI is clean. Leroy is selling land. Leroy's name is there. You're there. Awesome. Residential land. This is the rule. As a foreigner, most residential plots are 300 meters and below. Most, especially when you're in Kigali. As a foreigner, they're not going to approve you, I have to fix this correctly, purchasing a severely large plot unless that plot is already pre-labeled residential. Now, we have seen sales of residential plots at 500 square meters. We have seen sales of residential, that means that's not saying sales, because I have seen a sale of a residential plot at 900. Because on the land document, it was all together and it was document to document. So when you see the rules, they tend to use the number 300 meters. Do not take yourself out. What I tell people is if they found a plot and the land document is clean, immediately go to the land office with your visa, with your passport, and tell the land office that we want to constitute a sale. But and I know I'm a foreigner. Will I be able to buy this? And they'll most of the time say yes. And if they say yes, then you can proceed with the work. Um, what I've said before is it has to be labeled residential. It has to be labeled residential. Now, when you purchase a residential plot, please, you guys, this is important. You under your name is eligible for one residential plot as a foreigner. Under your name, you are eligible for one residential plot. I cannot go and buy a plot under J Essence, then say, you know what, I want to buy the plot next to it and make it residential. No, because in their mind, what they're looking at saying is, you live in there. What do you need with all that space? Like, make that make sense. Oh, I just want to have it bigger because, I might turn around and, put another house on there. Well, you can't live in two houses. Well, I want to rent out the house. You just went into business. You just went into business. So they are I'm not showing you guys. I'm going to get into that right after I talk about residential. I'm going to talk about agricultural. Okay. Don't worry. I'm coming. But as a resident, they are going to look at you for getting one plot in your name. If the plot is super big or if they have questions, they are then going to ask you, and we're going to dive into that for an investor certificate and all of those other things, which once you have the investor certificate, you're really open to do a lot more. This is you just trying to say, I want to buy land, and to purchase land, I've got to say this correctly. It is a free process. Like, you should pay your commissioner, which is the land person who's doing the work, but you should not be paying, you pay the notary. You should not have to pay the actual people to do the work. Like, the government doesn't get any man. Like, it's very, very clean. It's a very, very typical process to do that. So that is residential. I'm trying to think if there's any more questions under residential. So you're available to one underneath your name. You're available to doing plots around 300, sometimes above. You can do above if it's all labeled together. You cannot put two plots together and say, I'm buying both of these plots and making it. It needs to, the plot, the UPI numbers need to be one number, one sale. That's it. And I think that's pretty much it for residential. Let me open this up just a second to make sure that I have all of this spoken out before I talk about business and agricultural. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and go bigger. Agreement of sale signed at the notary. You will not do any kind of sale, friend to friend, homie to homie, whatever else like that. The moment you agree to sell, you're going to go to the notary. There is a sale contract that you can make. Not hard. It is not 20 pages like we're used to. Mine have been 2 pages, and that's been the most. Like, basically, I so-and-so agree to put such and such money into this bank account and such day. You need to have your legal documents. Now, here's the one thing I am going to say. When you put the legal documents, everybody's going to put their legal information. I personally got caught in a situation where I chose to put a down payment on something, and it did not go through, so I was supposed to get my deposit back. I can go to civil court and fight for my money, your courts and your rights. What I did not do, which made it harder for me, is that while I put down his information, I did not put down like his address or sector. So when it came time for us to serve him, we couldn't find him, and I kind of dropped it because I was going through so much stuff. He still owed me $2,000. God, I need my $2,000. I really do. And so that was just like a harsh lesson to learn, because he wanted me to pay for the whole thing. And so I should have never done the 5% deposit. I wanted to make sure I held it because I was going through the banks and all this other stuff, and I wanted him to stop having conversations. So I did the 5% deposit. At the end of the day, I should have just looked at everything that he had and got all the information properly that from him, and then just he would have been fine. He would have been fine. And like I said, please note, I can take him to civil court. There's a lot of things that I could do because I could, and people told me I could put him in civil court, and then if he sold the property, there was a junction on him that he must pay me back before he paid the he received his money. Like there is ways to support and protect yourself, but you do have to take the time to follow those through. Another thing is that a lot of people say, I'm going to RIB, which is the police. When I went to RIB, they told me it was a breach of contract, so therefore it's civil. So there's this little line of what to do where the police get involved versus it becomes a civil court matter. So you just have to kind of know that line. Now let's go back to going to the notary. When you're at the notary, I believe majority ask them to make sure that they are a land notary. What will happen now is that the notary people will follow through and file your paperwork for you. So at the sale, you make a contract where the seller, you pay at least half deposit, you do whatever. I want to say the first time we did a land buy, I paid half. The second time I paid half, we finished all the paperwork, and then I paid the other half. This is also before the new rules. The second time I paid in full at the notary with the signatures. And then for big sales that we've worked on, so my cousin connection will work with you. They will go with you. They will make sure all paperwork is done. We have sat there and been beside many people's hands while they're actually doing this stuff to help make sure you're going through this process properly and everything is protected. So we've seen both where it's been 100%, we've seen 50% and then 100%. After paying 100%, you're going to go to the sector office, which is the land department. And everybody knows where it is, the district office. Or you can go, this is where I said, to an authorized private notary for land title transfers. So the property will be under your names. At the notary, the buyer and seller have to sign paperwork for the notary. So I will say this. I have never seen 100% payment before notary. When I did my 100% payment, I was there with the duffel bag, with the money. And I watched as she signed and put her thumbprint, and then I signed and put the thumbprint, and then I made the notary watch me pass the money over to get it. Never 100% before time, whatever. No, I have always paid. If it was a land transfer, what somebody did once is, let me come back here. They were at the land notary office. We looked and found a bank next door. We started the paperwork. Then we went to the bank. We transferred the money. We got proof of the deposit of the transfer, came back in front of the notary, showed the proof of transfer, got the signatures. Like that part right there, we'd be like, nah, that's intense. Like we making sure, same time play at same time. I'm going down. Then check the title transfer information. After 1 month of transfer, you can start checking to see if it's transferred to you by dialing *651 number sign on your Rwandan mobile phone. So here is your technical. I'm going to come back off the stop sharing. Once you do the transaction, it is now. I'm going to answer everybody's question in just a second. But after you do the transaction, it is now your land. It is your land. Okay? So the moment that the notary stamp, and he's going to stamp with all the power of Jesus and God and the Holy Ghost together, like, bam, it's a really big deal. It is your land. It does take time to transfer. Now, Rhonda has stated you could tell in a week. We ain't at that part yet. That's a goal. But so after a month, if you tell it's so basically that same transfer piece, that UPI, that document then comes to your name. I will suggest to make sure you get the actual printout of the document, but you can start working once you have shown proof of transfer. So that is your name. That is the process. Now I'm going to go backwards because let me stop. The process is the same for residential. It's kind of the same for business and agriculture. We're going to go and dive into that. I am going to pull up real briefly some questions because I am going to answer all these questions. What size agricultural land can foreigners buy? You'll be answered in the next 5 minutes. Is there mixed purpose land? We will know. There's a hello, how you doing? There's a can we do a 3-acre 10-unit retirement subdivision? Baby, I want to talk to you because you are in my dreams. I want to do that so bad. You have no idea. But I'm going to answer all of these questions. So let's go back to, let's just talk about the agriculture process. So if you're just tuning in, I really broke down residential, what it means. Agricultural is next. So if you're buying agricultural land, this is where I'm going to say there's a small hiccup because I want you to know for me, I've been here 3 years. I purchased my land before a lot more of the rules and regulations. Very recently, and I'm making sure. And if you ever talk to me, hear me talk about SWAT, and I don't know what they call themselves, but we talk about it. There has been a small process change with the agricultural land. You have to get it checked. You can ask the land office, once again, district. Before last year, I could purchase agricultural land as an individual. So when people give you advice, and this is what happens, people be like, yeah, no, rules have changed. Okay. So within the last 6 months, it seems as if you need to have an investor certificate now to get agricultural land, especially, and I'm going to sit here and say this, for the amount of land that you're looking at, you'll probably need to have an investor. My land is not a hectare. My land is fairly small. And what happened in one of our sales is I was able to sell a small piece of agricultural land. That person did not have to have the investor certificate. When that person went back to purchase another piece of agricultural land, they were then told they need to have the investor certificate. Okay, that is the transparency. So let's go into the investor certificate real quick, and then we can break down land. The investor certificate is simply that you do have to apply and pay for the investor certificate. My Cousin Connection will do this work for you. And our charges is on the website. And we're pretty transparent with the charges. We do walk you through the entire process. We try to do a lot of legwork. The investor certificate also is something that we can start managing for you while you're still overseas. And then we do all that stuff. Let me break this in. This is just random. If you are leaving or going back and forth and you're in the midst of a land sale, I suggest 100% to leave behind a power of attorney. And when you leave behind the power of attorney, it must state in the document that you did for the power of attorney, not that this person has the right, that this person can buy, sell land, and do those type of transactions. Because you can have a power of attorney and they're going to look, been through this, and they're going to say, oh, this person has power of attorney. They can check their accounts and stuff, but they can't buy land. That's a different thing. So make sure if you're leaving behind and you're in the middle of something or wanting a deal to happen, or you're just concerned that you do leave behind a power of attorney who can finish any deals. Make sure you trust that person. Do not come back to me and be like, I did a power of attorney. They stole everything. Hey, you've got to be able to trust and vet your people, or you're going to wait for you, or you buy a plane ticket to come back. Okay. Now going back to agriculture, the investment certificate. Getting the investment certificate, I am going to say upon filing for the certificate, which cost, I'm going to say the last time as of this date is $500. Under a week, you can get all your paperwork. Once you have this investor certificate, you can go. You can purchase, you can do whatever you want to, you can do anything, because also underneath the investor certificate, you're technically kind of underneath, I think, a name or whatever. So when you talk about size of agricultural land can foreigners buy, there is no limit on the number of land that you can buy. No, there's no limit on the size of land that you can buy. The limit is you can't do anything until you have that investor certificate. But once you have the investor certificate, you can then ball out. Fabulous. You know what I'm saying? Put it in the bag. You can put it in the bag and let it go. And you can shop, and you can purchase your land. Now, certain things that I say, because it's hit me. When you're purchasing or looking at agricultural land, you, to me, want to be able to know what you're going to do with the land and how you're going to do it, because you want to know if you're near a water source or not. That has been my biggest headache. I know somebody else who's done residential, and they were building residential, and then that's when they realized they were not next to an electricity source as much as they thought so they actually had to put one in and install, and that ran them between $8,000 to $10,000. So these are type of questions that you want to ask, like where. Don't ask, is water available? Don't ask, electricity is available. Don't ask those questions. Those are yes questions. Ask, where is it? Is it already sourced? What are people doing now for what? Like, ask pertinent questions, not yes, no questions, because the answer is always yes. You can get water. Might take you 10 minutes on foot. Like, you got to understand. So for that piece, for agriculture and for business, there is no limit to what you can do. Okay. Is there mixed purpose land? Oh, let me help you guys. So W, if you're still here, oh yeah, let me go ahead and go to your second question. So 1 acre to a hectare. They do not say acres in Rwanda. Everything is done by hectare, and hectare is 2.5 acres. Now you can buy something under a hectare. I have under a hectare, and then they start labeling it by the square meters. Is it square meters or meters? But the square meters. So for that, like I said, so for it to be a hectare, I feel like you're going to have to get the investment certificate. So I'm going to go back to you. W, you have all your ducks in a row except for the investor certificate. We'll get that soon. You can go to RDB to find out. Just because I want to shout us out, I would also look at, let me send the email. My Cousin Connection. If you email Emmanuel, I don't know if you're there or not, but we did do someone's investor certificate while they were out of the country. So we were able to get all that. And here's your other technical I have to double check is, I think with the investor certificate, you still have to have this business. You still have to do your business registration. Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's like I said, it's a lot, but it's not. So even if you get the investor certificate, okay, and I'm going to go to you because I try to, yeah, I'll get that in a second. Like my comment section's kind of like freezing, so I'm giving it a second. Let me slow down. This is like, does the egg come before the chicken or did it come after the chicken? Business. You still have to have your business registration. Business registration is free to register. If you're going to do that paperwork yourself, you can register it for free. If not, My Cousin Connection will register your business for you. That means we'll do the running around, getting the papers and all that other stuff and talk you through so you don't have to have the activity. But you do have to have the business registered. I don't think you need to have the business registration to the investor certificate. It kind of works hand in hand now. And I'm sorry, because I just don't want to give you guys any false information, but the business certificate also gives you your TIN number, which makes things tax deductible and everything else like that. So if you have all your ducks in a row, you're ready to buy. I don't know if you're going to get glitched up with the business, registering your business. That's it. Registering. It's basically registering your business. But it's not hard to do. Registering your business is significantly easier than the investor certificate. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there so you know. Let me see if I can do this comment again. All right. So I think I answered that question, and I'm trying to give you Emmanuel's information to help you. And then now I'm ready to go to the next question. Okay. Is there mixed purpose land? I really want to, this is hard. What I have seen land that has been labeled agricultural, then it also says forestry on there. I have seen land that has been labeled agricultural, and then there's transportation on there. If transportation's on there, but there's nothing, what that means is that the government has plans or might have a plan in the future where they want to use that land for transportation, maybe a bus stop or something like that. If the government makes that decision, you got to support it. So check that on your land. If you see anything that says transportation on your land, you'd be like, whoa, dog, hold up. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Because the government has pretty much laid out what they're going to have. And if they want to use it, they use it. Okay. So I have not seen mixed purpose land, and we need to go into what you get for business. I don't want to say there's a gray line. I think that if you look at mixed purpose, I would ask you, what do you technically mean by that? And those things can kind of be taken care of or anything else like that. Business falls underneath the same rules as agriculture, so I don't want to go through all that again. Business, if you're getting lands for business purposes, and that's what it is. Rwanda is looking at creating economy. I will tell you there are some agricultural projects going on where the government is supporting farming and farmers in this area. They really want to make Rwanda self-sustainable, self-sufficient, and they know that they need to really focus in on some of those agricultural crops and getting those in. So there needs to be support in that. That's one of the things, once I get back, I know I'm going to look into more. Okay, so can we do a 3-acre 10-unit retirement subdivision? Yes. Label that and make sure that land is business. You can do that. Because if you do 3 acres, you're not going to be able to get that as residential anyway. So, and then that piece. So you're looking at the type of land that you're looking for. Can you legally collect and filter rainwater? I don't want to say no. I haven't seen anything against it. Oh, we collect rainwater. I'm tripping. We collect rainwater. We don't filter it. We use ours to clean. And we use ours to water crops. So that part, nobody's going to regulate you on that. Nobody's going to regulate you on that one. So here's the difference, W. This is what you're saying. I have traveled through Rwanda and I have seen mixed purpose land. I'm here only telling you what things are labeled. And so that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen the label of mixed purpose land. It doesn't mean that you, like, here's their key thing though. What is mixed purpose land? You're pretty much doing agriculture or business, right? So they're not going to regulate on that. What they're going to try to regulate is people buying like these big plots of land and then saying, okay, I'm going to put my house on there and it's just my land and I'm not going to do anything with it. They're also trying to regulate people from buying land and holding it and not selling it, or not selling it, not using it. They want to create jobs. They want to create these things. So they really don't want you to just come and buy land and then just sit on it, because that's people who could be working. That's people that there's things that to be done. So I don't see, hold on. Oh, so it's a zoning regulation. I just Googled up the mixed purpose. Give me 1 second. I do. What are the type of land uses in Rwanda? 75% of land is labeled agricultural. I believe this that they just told me. That's Master Plan 2020. What is C1 mixed use in Rwanda? Okay, there is a C1 mixed use zone in Rwanda. It's a district to create housing development, which commercial development at the ground to ensure community such and such, such and such. So I'm not going to be able to answer that question technically. I feel like it's more to be looked in, but based upon what I just Googled without conversation, is that there is a mixed use zone. Um, and it's mixed use and commercial. So key thing is let me go back to, because I don't like saying I'm wrong, right? Commercial is business. So that part, yes, to that, but that's business. Like, so that's kind of like business land. So looking into that. So I'm going to try to reboot my questions if you guys have any more questions. But I really wanted to kind of just break down as much as I could about the land process. So one question that people want to ask, because y'all not going to get me messing up my residency in Rwanda, because I love me some Rwanda. I love me some. Okay, is that people ask all the time, they kind of whisper, can I buy agricultural land and just build a house on it? And then, you know, I'll grow some trees. Y'all mess with these people if you want to. They told you the rules. That's it. That's all I have for you. They told you the rules. Cue this part in the video, because nobody gonna come back and say my cousin connection or J Essence. Like, I'm telling you what's being said. I'm telling you what's been done. I'm telling you the legal things. They telling you the rules. Don't get mad if people don't conform to the way you chose to do things, especially when the way you chose to do things was not what they told you to do in the first place. Prime definition of ever around to find out. Building materials difficult to get. Are they coming from Turkey, Netherlands? Is there anything? All right, so and I'm laughing. So there is, okay, let me break down shopping. There is an area, like there's areas in Rwanda, and I forgot what they're called, where you can get material. Like, but just a Home Depot or Lowe's? No, like there's an area of like 30 to 40 stores that you can go around and negotiate and find out where to get things. Now, T2000 has created a hardware division. So I haven't had the time to really go in there, and I go in there more for agricultural stuff than building stuff. So then it goes into, so let me answer your first question. Are building materials difficult to get there? The answer is no. Are they coming from Turkey, Netherlands? I don't know, because I haven't researched that side of things. I do know of people who have imported stuff because they didn't want the quality that was offered. So they did pay to get stuff imported. And like I said before, a big area is Dubai. Once I get back, I have a very dear friend. Shout outs to you. Mama went and visited your spot. I heard it's beautiful. I can't wait to go see it. But I do know people who have built. I have 3 personal friends who have built. And there was, I know one had serious struggle with electrical and lighting and stuff, and having to get creative with that. I don't know how the other one's doing, and the other one has finished. So building materials are not difficult to get. The other piece I will say, and this is something that we're dealing with now, is that also it does depend on your location. For instance, I live in Bogosera. I absolutely love it. Personal plans. There's a difference between building in Niamata, where the new airport is going to be, and there's a difference to building in Gashua, where all the stuff that I do is. I do know that if I chose to build in Gashua now, and it has been told to me, there will be an